Hello, good morning. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Always a pleasure to be here at Disrupt. I've been missing Karachi a lot, actually. As some of you know, I don't live here for the last few years. I keep coming back, but more and more, I somehow miss Karachi's energy. So it's great to be here this morning. How's everyone doing? So, you know, when Jahan reached out a few weeks ago, inviting me to speak here, and I immediately was thinking, what is it that I want to speak about? And there's something that's been on my mind for a long time. When we look at the startup ecosystem and Pakistan overall. You know, as you know, these days I've been trying to zoom out a little bit and look at the macro. And one question that's been on my mind is, are we building in isolation? And all of the people in this room are responsible for bringing incredible new ideas. I mean, this panel we were listening to, you know, incredible founders building the future here in Pakistan. So what we're building is almost akin to building these shiny, new, brand new shops, which are perfectly decorated, great products. But we might be building these shops in a mall, which is not the most well-kept mall. It's a mall which is fairly dilapidated. And you know, as founders, as investors in venture, we're all kind of crazy, right? We're super optimist. We don't think about problems. We just focus on what our goals are, and we just chug through, right? We've all been there. We've all just ignored the macro and just run for the ideas that we're building in. But you know, it's been hard. The last 4 or 5 years have been hard. And no matter who you speak to, any founder you speak to, any investor you speak to, they will tell you, man, it's been rough. It's been pushing this massive boulder up this hill. And the argument I want to make is that we often ignore the macro environment. We often think that, you know, we're founders, we're just going to push through. But I want to make the argument that macros today are having a direct impact on our customers, on our investors, on competition, and on talent. Let's talk about customers first, and I'll give you Kareem's example. So, you know, a Kareem ride was averaging at $1 in Pakistan. The same ride was at about $6 in Saudi Arabia. And the same ride sells for $20 in UAE. Now, the take rate is the same, 20%. That translates to 20 cents in Pakistan. And that translates to $4 in UAE. But the tech stack is the same. For every ride, you have to pay a certain amount for AWS. We have to pay a certain amount for Google Maps. And so on a per ride basis, you're having to spend about 14 cents to deliver that service. Same stack. So the same rule applies to every SaaS business we build, any technology business we build. We're building it for this market. The ARPU is low. We can take the exact same stack and exact same skill to a different market, and the ARPU is high. But this ARPU being low is not a surprise. Our GDP per capita has stagnated for nearly a decade, while in our region, GDP per capita is moving up. But this is no surprise. 60% of our economy is services. 20% is agriculture, 20% is industry. But if your economy is primarily driven by services, and services are primarily driven by human capital, what are the ingredients? What is the recipe for growth? Well, the recipe for growth is education and healthcare. Have we done any investment in education and healthcare? Absolutely not. 20 to 24 million kids who should be in school today are not attending school. 40% of our children are suffering from stunted growth. But these are our customers of the future. These are our builders of the future. So 10 years later, the market will comprise of these young adults who would have not had an education, who would be unhealthy, and our ARPU will remain the same. Let's talk about what we're doing about it. It's quite simple. It's no rocket science. Any country that has done well has invested in healthcare and education. We're not doing that. We're spending less than a percentage on health, less than 1% of GDP public expenditure on health, and less than 1% on education. You look at regional comparison, you look at global comparisons, we're consistently low. Let's talk about investors. In all emerging markets, when the venture ecosystem starts to build up, who are your first investors? They're typically your brick and mortar industries. If you look at the first cohorts of our funds, whether it's I2I or Indus or Sarmayakar, who were your big anchors? They were the Surtis of the world, the Luckys of the world, the Gatrons of the world, right? They were our biggest investors. But what's been happening to them? We are going through a silent deindustrialization. Our industry as a size of GDP has just hovered between 18 and 20%. And these industries are having to bear exceptionally high energy costs. So what have they done instead? So in the last 7 years, about $5 billion got invested in solar. Now, you could say in a way, this is great, it's a solar revolution, but on one end, we already had a massive grid, which is poorly managed and too expensive, and people basically used $5 billion to bring down their cost of operations. This $5 billion could have been invested in anything. It could have invested in growth of their businesses. It could have come to venture, but it has not. We are crushing our industry with insane taxation. And conglomerates who have the mindset to invest in new businesses, who have the mindset to go public, we've put a super tax on them, and they get charged tax. They get charged 3 times. If they make a holding company, under the holding company, they've got more companies, they get charged at about effectively 60% taxes. So the Engros of the world are paying on average of 60% tax. I mean, this is our consistent, potentially reliable pool of capital, and we're hemorrhaging it. Let's talk about foreign investors. A few years ago, this room used to be full, right? Now, you could say our export competitiveness is to be blamed. You could say our reliance on imports, our energy reliance on imports, all of that put together. I mean, damn, if it wasn't for remittances, God knows what would have happened to our currencies. But think of everyone in this room. Think of incredible founders who have worked so hard. In the last 5 years, no matter what you did, no matter what GMV we built, half of that dollarized GMV just got eaten up by currency devaluation. Right? We worked so hard, we built so much, and in rupee terms we got here, but in dollar terms we got pushed down by half. Let's talk about capital controls. When someone brings money in, we don't let them take money out. This is a problem. We need to be able to ring fence the type of investors who should be able to take money out. And of course, this is hurting us. We look at competition. So many of us have invested in businesses that operate in the agriculture space. We have invested in trucking businesses. We've invested in warehousing businesses. So anytime we have put money to back founders who have gone and tried to build in traditional spaces of Pakistan, we've gotten our bums whooped because the competition is not tax compliant. The venture companies we fund, they are paying sales tax, excise tax, income tax, that tax, everything. They're completely compliant. So I mean, I think the image speaks for itself. Let's talk about talent. It's becoming harder and harder to retain top talent because once you go above a certain income level, it makes more sense for you to leave the country because the tax rate is so high. Our salaried class paid more than $500 billion in tax last year. Our agriculture sector paid $4 billion. To put that in context, Mizan Bank alone paid like 100 billion rupees. This 500 billion that salaried class is paying is more than the amount all of the exporters paid put together. So we are creating an incentive for our talent to leave. And you talk to founders, you talk to any bank, you talk to any insurer, doesn't matter. Beyond a certain level of talent, it makes so much sense to take a 1.5-hour flight to Dubai or a 3-hour flight to Riyadh and even if you accept a lower grade job, you still end up making more. Even if you get paid the same amount of money, the tax rate is too high. And naturally, we can all anecdotally confirm that we have seen a loss of great talent. We have all suffered from it. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? We know that in this ecosystem, we have to there is a dire need for economic reform. There has to be fairness in the way we do taxation in this country. There has to be investment in education and healthcare. There has to be energy reform. But what can we do about it? I think we often ignore macros thinking this does not affect us, but it absolutely does. You can map out how it's impacting our customers, you can map out how it's impacting our investors, and so on and so forth. And I think all of us in this room have to speak up. We have to engage in the public economic discourse. We have to engage with policymakers. We have to engage with politicians. We have to engage with government servants. We have to make sure they're invited to all our events. We have to showcase our startups to them. We have to let them know what we're building, what problems we're suffering from. And you know what? I can promise you speaking up helps. We have examples here, right, in this industry when we did a concerted effort and we got results. Mubarak has just walked in at the perfect time, on cue. And I was going to say that 2 examples I can quote. So when we were building Kareem, we got forcefully registered by the provincial revenue authorities as a rent-a-car company. That meant 18% sales tax. So we had to go and explain to them that we get 20% as our take rate. So if you take 18%, we might as well close down today. So we had to go and explain to them that, look, just because we're connecting taxis to people today doesn't make us a rent-a-car company. Tomorrow, when we're going to connect doctors to patients, are you going to make us get a hospital license? And then when we're going to deliver food, you're going to treat us like a restaurant? So we did this 1 year, like, ballistic public campaign. We went and met everyone. Like, we would go to the chambers of commerce. We went and met all government officials. We even went to 90 one day to meet even the MQM leadership. It doesn't matter. We had to create that noise. And eventually we found Taimur Jhagra, who was the KP finance minister, ex-McKinsey guy, and we got that one guy to officially recognize online marketplaces for the first time in tax law. And you know, the rest is history. The same thing happened in 2021. We started getting record investing in 2020. And I know a lot of people were involved in this, but I knew Mubarak was pretty central to it. So I thought I'd put his picture up, and he also walked in at the right time. So everyone who was involved, and some of you who may not remember, so we started getting record investments coming into Pakistan, but we didn't have a holdco rule. So, and if money came straight into the startup, you couldn't take the money out, and Pakistani startups couldn't build a holdco from here. You should have had to build a holdco first, and so the whole team, and I know Mubarak did a great job there, spent a lot of time with State Bank, with SECP, with Ministry of Finance, and we got it done. So there is precedence. There is a lot of precedence in how things get done when we speak about it, when we focus on it. So I think it is again the right time. We are starting to see an uptick in investments. I think this previous panel, there's going to be a lot of work that will happen in the blockchain space. None of us are ready to give up yet. So we're not, I know it's been rough, but everyone's at it, right? So I come back to this example. We can continue to build, we should continue to build these beautiful, shiny businesses, these beautiful new shops. But we need to remain clear that we're building this in an environment which is not perfect. If you're building a shiny new shop in a slightly dilapidated mall, we better start spending 5 to 10% of our time in improving the condition of this mall. Because if you're a founder and you have 4 core jobs, guess what? Add a 5th one. Start spending 5 to 10% of your time engaging in public policy discourse. If your voice is not heard, people do not know. When you would go to Islamabad, when you go to the State Bank and you discuss with them, you realize that this is something they were not aware of. This is not something people have articulated to them. And there are incredible people in this room who are tenacious, who speak well. Use the power of data. Let our voices be heard, and let's help improve the environment we operate in, because after all, we cannot build in isolation. Thank you. Thank you.